I'm kind of a history nerd, and so I've been studying what the pagan nations around ancient Israel believed, because a lot of what's in the Bible, the apostles and prophets knew, but they were also, what God did during their time was in response to what the gods of those pagan nations were doing. Sharon talked about Isaiah 14. Lucifer kicked off God's holy mountain. Ezekiel 28 calls Eden the mountain. I didn't know that until I actually read the Bible for the first time. I was a little I'm late to this party. But he was kicked out of the garden, kicked off God's holy mountain to become Lord of the dead. Well, the Canaanites, the neighbors of the ancient Israelites, the people that the Israelites had to push out of the land, were actually performing rituals. And these are texts that scholars, secular scholars, have only been deciphering and translating in the last 40 or 50 years to summon the spirits of these things. What we find in the prophecy of Ezekiel 38-39, the Gog-Magog war, is that Ezekiel prophesied a day when those spirits will be part of the war, led by the entity coming from the mountain that Lucifer wants to establish his throne on, which is in Turkey. You can see the mountain today. It's right there on the border between Turkey and Syria on the Mediterranean coast, called Mount Tzafan, today called Jebel al-Aqra. That's where Gog of Magog is going to assemble the hordes of Magog. In English, it's usually translated as the sides of the north or the uttermost parts of the north. It's only used, that phrase in Hebrew, 3 places in the Bible: Ezekiel 38 and 39, Psalm 48, which compares Mount Zion to Mount Tzafan, to talk about God's mount of assembly and how important it is, because that's where God has established his name and his throne forever, and Isaiah 14. So you've got Gog, Satan, Lucifer, leading the war against Israel, with these hordes of Magog being these entities, the Rephaim, the spirits of the dead Nephilim, who will be buried in a place called the Valley of the Travelers, the Valley of the Ovarim. It's the Jordan, it's the east side of the Jordan River. It's mind-boggling when you look at it, but there was a ritual that the Canaanites performed for this. They would hold ritual feasts for these spirits, where they would summon them to a ritual meal. And one of the texts actually says these Rephaim traveled one day and then another, and at dawn of the 3rd day they arrived to their ritual feast. Jesus had a meal on the night which he was betrayed. He gave thanks, and then he took bread and broke it. This is my body which is given for you. The next day he was on the cross, and at dawn of the 3rd day, Mary and Mary Magdalene were there at the tomb, which was empty. Jesus took their ritual, God took their ritual, turned it on its head.
Yeah.
And that's how he bought our salvation. Isn't that mind-boggling?
Mind-boggling.